Hello, welcome to another US Geoguessr Professor video. I'm going to be giving you some education, some analysis, some hopefully tips and tricks to help you with your US Geoguessr game, particularly region guessing in the US. I'm going to be doing today another state-specific video in Alaska, the biggest state in the Union and one that's notoriously difficult to region guess in. I'm going to be using the map AI Populated Alaska. It's a map created by AYJAY011. He is a fellow YouTuber. I picked this map because it looked interesting. It gave me the opportunity to maybe get on its leaderboard. Could be a tall order. We have some pretty high scores on there. But I'm feeling pretty confident in especially populated Alaska. Since Alaska is a pretty big place, I think I'm gonna err on the safe side and turn time limit off. Usually I might do 10-minute rounds, but I think no time limit is suitable for Alaska. So let's see, what parking lot have we been dropped in on our first round? We're very close to some Alaska license plates. It would be worth taking a look at this variety here, I think. This one right in front of us, that bright yellow plate, also notice there's front plates everywhere, by the way. But that bright yellow plate is your prototypical Alaska plate. If you see a lot of those everywhere, that's where you probably are. Then there's another variety of Alaska plate that we're looking at here that's kind of similar to Pennsylvania. It's like slight blue on the top, white in the middle, yellow on the bottom. You see those sometimes. This third variety, and I'll step one, so maybe we could get a better, nah, that's step too far, of course. So this variety here on the truck, it's like, if it was unblurred, you could see it better, but it's like a polar bear design, I think. There's a bear in the middle, and it's like, then it goes to yellow, and then blue on the outside. So sort of like this red and yellow blob in the middle of blue. But there, right there, are your three prototypical Alaska plates. We are in a strip mall, and I would say that there could be nothing more Anchorage than this strip mall right here. Anchorage is really just covered with these kind of low, very similar looking strip malls, full of, restaurants, ethnic restaurants, these kind of day spas, nail spas. I mean, dropped in this parking lot, there's nowhere else we could be than Anchorage. I mean, forget that I know we're on the Alaska map. This is just such an Anchorage scene. And lots of Anchorage looks like this too. It's low, there's endless sidewalks. I've spent so many hours, so many miles walking around the sidewalks of Anchorage. It's a killer on your shins and your ankles for sure. We also see a bus. Very few locations in the state of Alaska are going to have public transit systems, bus systems in particular. I know Ketchikan has one. Pretty sure Fairbanks has one, although I've never been on it. And then obviously Anchorage has one too. Now, what we just passed was interesting, and is something that's really, really Alaska as well. You see these little coffee huts, these little drive-through coffee places, and usually, yeah, you can drive through usually on either side of these things. I don't think I've been to this one, but I think I've driven by this one before. Boom Coffee, 24 hours. I feel like that's a bit unusual. I don't think a lot of those coffee houses are open 24 hours. We also have high mountains, pretty high mountains, and it looks like it's summertime because I feel like most of the year those mountains would be pretty snow-capped. But high mountains to the east-southeast, we're looking at the Chugach National Park, or Chugach State Park. It's pretty enough, it's rugged enough, it's vast enough to be a national park, but it's just a state park in Alaska. Yeah, we're on International Airport Road and Arctic Boulevard. Oh, yeah, I've been to this intersection many times. We're east of the International Airport in Anchorage. I feel like I've even been to this Tesoro station a bunch of times. This is International Airport in Arctic. There is a few blocks this way, east on International Airport Road, an Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I usually rent my car there to drive around Alaska. It's a good place to go. So we're real close to Arctic and International Airport Road. So even if you didn't immediately recognize this intersection, as I did, notice if you just go east from the Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, we go east on International Airport Road, and then Arctic Boulevard's pretty close, and then there's Boom Coffee. I feel like Boom Coffee's pretty well known. And we are across the street and up from Boom Coffee. We're right by Lucky Market. Nice, 5K. It was a little bit far away, 18 yards, but fortunately Alaska's big enough where have a tiny margin of error. So prototypical Midtown Anchorage strip mall. You see, we were there in Midtown, and much of that mid part of Anchorage looks like that for sure. Where are we next? Little bit more rural, that's for sure. We're near a rail line. Could that be the Alaska Railway? Huh. We are at Parker's Tor. We're in a very industrial part of one of Alaska's big cities. Mountains again to the southeast, also to the east. We have a post office truck there. It doesn't look like we're lucky enough to where that is a post office. Then we would know instantly where we are. I feel like this is another part of Alaska I'm gonna just kind of know off of vibes. One thing we see is that a lot of these trees are largely deciduous. We get these kind of like large birch, I'm guessing, trees here. So that could put us in a lot of places in Alaska, but it definitely doesn't put us like in southeast Alaska. That's for sure. We'd be a lot more coniferous. A lot more of these trees would be dominating. The mountains would be higher. The mountains would be, I think, more immediate. If we were in somewhere like Ketchikan or Juneau, higher mountains for sure. I'm inclined to think we're somewhere again in the Anchorage area, just in a different part of Anchorage. The mountains are in a slightly different direction, but if you look at it, similar mountains. Again, I think a lot of the time, these mountains would have a fair amount of snow on the top of them. So we must be in high summer coverage here for sure. Given the industrial nature of where we are, there's kind of like factories everywhere, or like maybe not factories, but like warehouses. There's a railroad there. If we look at Anchorage, notice there's kind of like railroad going out of Government Hill, which is a neighborhood north of downtown. Government Hill is kind of a cool little neighborhood. If I'm not mistaken, one of the most expensive parts of Anchorage, but it's a cool little neighborhood. You see, it's like isolated there. That's kind of only like one way in and out from downtown Anchorage. There's 49 State Brewing. Love that place. They really have some good beer. There's another one up by Denali National Park, but they opened one, as you can see, fairly recently there in downtown Anchorage. Club Paris, by the way, that's a really famous, regionally famous, I guess. It's kind of like an old school, like 50s steakhouse in downtown Anchorage. It's one of the most famous restaurants in Alaska, if not the most famous. Okay, so we're going like northeast. Yeah, I was thinking like east of Government Hill, because when you go out here, like out Route 1 going north of Anchorage, you go through this kind of industrial neighborhood. Mountain View, I think I just got done saying Government Hill was a pretty affluent neighborhood of Anchorage. Mountain View is one of the most infamously dangerous neighborhoods of Anchorage. So Mountain View and Government Hill are kind of very different, but I think we might be in between them. I think we might be on this post road. I feel like I've had rounds here before. You go like right by the rail line, and you kind of follow the rail up. Let's see though, do we have any roads? Do we have any street signs? We're at Shoreside Petroleum. Remember, area codes are going to do you no good in Alaska because they're all going to be 907. Zip codes might help. They're all going to start with 9, but I believe they get increasingly larger as you go southeast. I feel like Ketchikan and Metlakatla are like 999, and then they go down from there as you go north. Yeah, Post Road. Okay, so southwest, and they're peeking over the tops of the trees. You see downtown Anchorage. Obviously, I didn't notice that at first. I was just kind of going off of these industrial vibes and the proximity to that railroad line. See if we can get a cross street. Whitney, East Whitney, and then you can see on these street signs, these are pretty typical Anchorage grid street signs. So East Whitney Road, 1300. So we'd be at 1300 East, and then, yep, North Post Road, 1400. So we went back on Post maybe towards Whitney. Yeah, here we are at Post and Whitney. Might be able to 5K this, so we go northeast a little bit. Did we 5K the first time? Yeah, it looks like we did, so might be able to start with a 10K here in populated urban Alaska, which would be cool. MFCP, Parker's Tour. Where's MFCP? There we go. Motion and flow control. So it is going to be, we're just going to be maybe right there on Post, in between MFCP, and then this has to be Rigs Towing and Recovery, I believe. I did not 5K it. That's kind of disappointing. Okay, so we were on the other side of MFCP. Okay, not bad, but we were within 75 yards. I feel good about this. We are at Post Road, North Anchorage. Okay, looks like a different scene here altogether. Looks like a different part of Alaska altogether. You notice things look like they're trending a little bit more into fall foliage. You also likely immediately notice that we are much more coniferous in nature than where we were those first 2 rounds in Anchorage. We still see a lot of these birch trees, but landscape is predominantly evergreens. Some, these like spindly evergreens, others fatter and more robust. We have not seen any mountains yet, but we've seen a decidedly, I would say, greener and more heavily forested landscape for sure. This is going to be the first, any clue we get right there besides foliage and the road. Can't get anything off of that mailbox. I was hoping, a lot of times the newspaper boxes in Alaska will tell you more about where you are. I think I would lean away again from Southeast Alaska. I think it's not green enough. It's trending towards this kind of like fall foliage. So you can tell like these largely deciduous um, trees. I mean, they aren't largely because there's like a big mix here, but they're changing color. I feel like we wouldn't see a lot of that in Southeast Alaska and somewhere like Ketchikan. That is rainforest, and it's going to be green most of the year. Nurses Creek, it's actually going to be green all of the year if you get as far south as like Ketchikan or Metlakatla. I feel like you might, if you get as far north as maybe Juneau into Kenai, start seeing almost this kind of like New England color changing foliage. You'd see a lot of that in New England. I mean, obviously, I know that's not where we are, but we see, that kind of like stereotypical multicolor fall deciduous foliage. We are on Moose Meadows. We crossed Nurse Creek, and we are on East Schwald Road. And Moose Meadows. We have, at least for Alaska, some fairly low mountains to the north. These to me would strike me more as interior kind of mountains, interior Alaska kind of mountains. Way more so than the kind of high mountains than we saw around Anchorage. Again, you got to remember, those are going to be snow-tipped almost all of the year. So it's kind of weird to see those Chugach Mountains east of Anchorage without snow. Rarely been to Alaska, I guess, in the height of summer. I guess I've been to Anchorage once in like August, Fairbanks, Barrow in August. This is obviously getting a little bit more into fall, and we're not really getting much of anything, are we? It's kind of lightly settled. The the sparse feel would kind of lend itself maybe to Fairbanks and Environs, like outer Fairbanks. Maybe into like, I don't know, the town of Esther, or maybe around like North Pole, east or west of Fairbanks. Just really don't know. I don't think this is Matsu, because I really would expect us to be able to see higher and more impressive mountains. Little Susitna River. Okay, I feel like this is going to be the best clue that we have so far. And I also think that it as well would point towards the interior of Alaska. I was feeling with those kind of lower mountains, the real heavy mix of deciduous and coniferous trees, that we're really in interior. Now, where is the Little Susitna? You can see here, I mentioned the Matsu Valley earlier. Here is the Matanuska River going kind of like east out of, well, I mean, flowing into Knik Arm, but going up around Palmer and then northeast of Anchorage. Here, Susitna River starts northwest of Anchorage, and then, yeah, flows up here through Talkeetna. So, is the Little Susitna River this river that goes off north of Talkeetna? Because if we were in Talkeetna, this is the Talkeetna River. This is the Susitna. So where's the Little Susitna? Is this river big enough? Don't know. certainly looks like it is. But it also looks like it could be a major river in and of itself. Would the Little Susitna be farther up towards Fairbanks? I think this is just still the Susitna River. Healy. I tell you, Google Maps is not being of much help on these rivers. I feel like here coming up through Denali, I feel like that's still the Susitna. I mean, is it not? Yeah, there's the Susitna. So where's the Little Susitna? Or Nurses Creek? Are we somehow... There's no road system here. One would really think that... That's Twister Creek. Could we be... this is going north and east. Could we be on this Talkeetna Spur Road? Going into or out of Talkeetna? That would be one of the few roads that would look like this, that would be near the Susitna River. So where would the Little Susitna be? There's the Upper Susitna Food Pantry. Here is Susitna North. There's South Parks Highway. Could we be around this Susitna North? I know I've been dropped there before. I know that there's definitely coverage there. I just really wish I knew where the Little Susitna came off. Really wish. That's the Cashwidna. See, we're really big down here. Willow Creek. Could we be as far south as Willow? Willow Creek Parkway? Somewhere like that? Man, I wish I knew where the Little Susitna was. I mean, we're coming down. No coverage. There's the Little Susitna. Okay, so it was east. It was east. Let's follow that. See, I expect, maybe that was a bad expectation, but I expected the Little Susitna to flow into the big one, and it does not. Okay, bear with me. At least we're on round 3. These rural rounds in Anchorage or in Alaska are brutal. Here's the Little Susitna Public Use Facility Campground. We're crossing the Little Susitna River, though, and we previously crossed Nurses Creek. So where would that put us? AJ, what did you put us in? Where did you put us? It's got to be populated Alaska, so here's the Little Susitna. Yep. Could we be in Houston, Alaska? I think that's my best shot at the moment. I mean, obviously we're not on 3. 3 is going to be the Parks Highway at this point. So we're not on that road. But we are on a road that crosses the Little Susitna. And where in the world would that be? Here? West Schrock. Okay, that crosses the Little Susitna. Okay, could we be somewhere farther east? Like north of Wasilla? Looks like it, yeah, because I don't see any roads whatsoever that cross the Little Susitna. Not from its mouth down there in Kinnick Arm all the way through Houston. It looks like there's a railroad bridge crossing the Little Susitna. And it certainly looks like there's a crossing there on Parks Highway, but we got to be east of that. First thought we might be in Houston, but it does not look like there are any road crossings of the Little Susitna, really until you get significantly north of Wasilla. So we're on a road going almost bang on southeast over the Little Susitna. We're going southeast, northwest. The river at this point is flowing really kind of east-west. Charles E. Kearney Memorial Bridge, that is a huge help. Matanuska Susitna Borough, okay. So, yeah, we're in the Mat-Su, but where? And man, this Little Susitna River goes on forever, does it not? How far are we going to follow this thing? Sunrise Road, Charles E. Kearney Memorial Bridge. That's the Manville H. Olson Memorial Bridge. Still in the Mat-Su. Still on Little Susitna. Wow, that really goes way farther than I thought. Could we be somewhere like around here? Yeah, there's a Little Susitna. We also crossed Nurses Creek, remember? Yeah, Schwald Road. Here we go. So looks like we were on Schwald. Here's the Schwald crossing. That turns into Coles. Is this the Charles E. Kearney Memorial Bridge? Not sure, but we were somewhere on Schwald. Okay. Twana Circle, Schwald, Shoshana Drive. It looks like Schwald starts there. Dead end if we go back that way, huh? Does that make sense? Does that not go anywhere? Back there on Schwald? There's a crossing of the Little Susitna. Looks like there's so many branches of that. Wow, okay. Return to origin. Now that we had some sort of clue that we're like in the deep outskirts of Wasilla. Wow. Let me just think about that for a sec. That's kind of surprising to me. Not gonna lie. But I want to find out exactly where we are in this intersection. Our first road sign, yep, that we came to here, Close Street. And I assume Close and Schwald because I thought that we were on Schwald. I should have put my pin in there and then returned to that. Just really caught up in the trees and the landscape. Different than Anchorage, though, huh? I mean, we are farther up in the valley. Here's Kingfisher. Melody. Can we assume that we're off of Schwald? I mean, it would make sense. Yeah, there's Moose Meadows. I remember Moose Meadows. Twana Circle. Shoshana Drive. So we are Kingfisher. I could have sworn we were on Schwald. Elwood Nurses Circle. Are these just small roads that really aren't on the map at all? Yeah, I think they are. Okay, so if we were really north of Wasilla, yeah, those mountains due north would make sense for sure. Due north would be looking into like Fishhook, Hatcher Pass. That's more up this way, but yeah, mountains just directly to the north. That totally makes sense. Also, mountains kind of like off in the distance, farther away to the east also makes a great deal of sense. So Mat-Su Valley, you gave me a confusing round, but I think we got there eventually. We were like way outside of Wasilla, though. Baldy Mountain? Did I go east? I mean, I swear I would have gone east to hit Little Wasilla. I need to really do better about figuring out what direction I go into. Okay, now this really like looks like Wasilla. You know, this kind of like old, flat, kind of more agricultural farmland. I think those might have even been some cows. Did we see cows back there? That is East Coles Road, which I believe we saw somewhere around the drop. Holobenko Coles. Okay, cool. There's East Coles, turned into Patton. East Coles Road. Yeah, does it go up that way? Looks like it does. Yeah, there was Baldy Mountain. So we were near Baldy Mountain. There's Kingfisher, North Kingfisher Lane. So we went east, right? And hit Melody. There's East Coles. North CL Circle. East Coles. I tell you, we're somewhere, though. Somewhere on this road. I'm not going to take it too much. Yeah, because we didn't 5K that last round, so I'm not going to, like, worry about it too much, but I'd like to get slightly more of a bead on where we are, especially since we know we're in the Matsu. Close Street, going east, close. So close, one problem is that what this is? North CL Circle? That's supposed to be close? Are you kidding me? North Close Street? Damn, Alaska. I mean, one frustrating thing about Alaska, I ran into this in West Virginia a lot too, is, you know, the roads, they don't match what they're called on the map, on Google Maps, and you're just kind of left wondering just where the heck you are. So this has to be Kingfisher and Melody. Yeah, okay. So there was Kingfisher and Melody. We found that. This has to be that, like, close circle. Yeah, North Close. Let's just say we're, like, somewhere there. Because when we go west, is there a bridge that we go over? Maybe? But it looks like Coles turns around and bends to the right there, and then, yes, goes there. So is this close? I don't know. Let's say we're right there. 4997. I think that's good enough. Notice that we have like a bunch of roads that didn't have names. It's sometimes just impossible, it seems like, in Alaska to line up. So that was my most bewildering round. I spent a lot of time driving around in this fishhook area, but wow, north of Wasilla, that took me a while to get to. It seemed interior. Was really thinking I was farther north, like up in that Willow Talkeetna area, just given the foliage, but the mountains due north made sense. Whoa! I don't like this. Is this the Dalton Highway? I feel like this might be the Dalton Highway. I'm almost never dropped on this road. We're going southeast. So it looks like they're going... Man, I was doing well until this fourth round. Okay. So... Let's see. That looks like a milepost there. Be nice if we could get closer to that. 28.1. Does that say 28.1? I think. Wherever we are, we're in just like incredibly rural Alaska. I mean, that goes without saying. There is this, it's called the Hall Road or the Dalton Highway, and it goes from really not even Fairbanks. It starts like, I think, north of Fox. And it goes, yeah, up through Live and Good. I think it really starts turning into the Hall Road once you get on the other side of the Yukon River. And so this is the Dalton Highway. And this is the road that, like, you're not supposed to go driving on if you rent a car in Alaska. It's really some of the most, like, remote wilderness you have in Alaska. I know that there's coverage all the way up to Dead Horse. I spent a few minutes in Dead Horse Airport on the plane. We flew there on the way from Anchorage. I flew from Anchorage to Barrow and then stopped in Dead Horse. And it is an incredibly desolate place. Let me tell you that. Yeah, this landscape is really unlike any I personally have ever seen in Alaska. When we first dropped, I felt like we might have been even in, like, Barrow, way up there north of the Arctic Circle. You see, it's near treeless, which is the thing that, like, shocked me. I think looking east there, I think that's the pipeline we're looking at. I mean, I think that is the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. And so that would really, really fit with the Dalton Highway. I have been as far north as Fox. I drove north from Fairbanks into Fox because, get this, I wanted to go to the, well, at least America's most northern brewery, Silver Gulch Brewing and Bottling. Yeah, that's in Fox, Alaska. Remember, there's no beer or alcohol in Barrow or in most bush towns in the Arctic, so that's going to be America's northernmost brewery. I wasn't brave enough to drive north out of Fox, though. Is the pipeline on the map? Yeah, I remember the Elliott Highway. I remember driving from Fairbanks up through Fox and seeing the pipeline. So I know that it goes north out of there along the Steese Highway into, and then, yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Dalton Highway, yeah, begins in Live and Good. So would this mean we are 28 miles north of Live and Good? I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But I also feel like if that were the case, it would be way more forested. I think we get some serious forestation, even up through, like, Coldfoot and Wiseman on the Dalton. I feel like we have to be 28 miles south of Dead Horse on the Dalton. If we're indeed at that mile marker 28.1, I want to see if we can get some more mile markers. It's absolutely the only thing we're going to get here. Man, I've been dropped in Prudhoe Bay and in Dead Horse, and I knew exactly where I was, but I have never been dropped in between there and Live and Good on the Dalton. It figures I'm playing AJ's map. I'm doing it live. It figures I would get dropped on the Dalton. Well, this is a challenge, I gotta say. Did we see any more? I mean, as abandoned as this is, as treeless as it is, I think there's no other thing we could be looking at in Alaska other than the Dalton Highway. So it's just gotta be where we are. I've never been there. I've only seen pictures of it. I've never driven it. Yeah, 28.2, so they're going up. Or is it 282? Might be 282, huh? 281. Did we go a mile? Do we think? We got nothing. Okay, so I'm going to start at 282. See how many clicks it takes me to get to the next milepost. If we're thinking that's a mile, I certainly think it's way more than 1/10 of a mile. So I think that's got to be mile 281. So how? Whoa, is there something there? Is there something there? There's a little road off to the east. There's a little road off to the east. Is that just like a little road going off? Probably to like take care of the pipeline. It's probably just like a little pipeline road. But yeah, we're probably at mile 282, 281. Can we get anything off of those signs? I mean, it's so like, I don't think it's Gen 1, but it's still like so blurry. This is the most desolate round I think I've ever had in America. Ever. Even Dead Horse, you know, like there's a settlement. It's not really a city, but there's like a settlement there. Okay, that's 9? Like outpost number 9? I just want to confirm that we're probably at mile 282. Yeah, look at how dirt covered that car, that SUV is. Wow, we gotta be on the Dalton. I've read that if you drive the Dalton, you should literally carry like an extra spare tire with you. I'm not talking about like a spare one, I mean like an actual like real tire. And maybe a spare, just because it's so desolate. There's so little gas here. I mean, this is beautiful, right? But who in their right mind would be brave enough to drive this? I mean, at least we got some landmarks. We got what looks to be almost a little settlement. That, to me, is mind-blowing. Are we nearing Prudhoe Bay and Dead Horse? 283. These have to be miles. We have to be at mile 283 of the Dalton. So let's just do a little bit of speculation here. Fairbanks to Fox is about 10 to 15 miles, if I remember correctly. And then, if I remember correctly, Fairbanks to Livengood, it's like over an hour, 75 minutes, maybe like an hour and a half. I think Fairbanks out to Chena Hot Springs is like an hour, hour and a half. There's Chena. So I think, yeah, if we say Livengood's maybe like 75 miles, I think that's a decent guess. Fairbanks to Livengood. So that's where the Dalton starts. Shall we say that it's maybe another 60 to 70 miles there over the Yukon? There's the Yukon Bridge and the Yukon Camp. What milepost is that at? I don't suppose they're going to give us any milepost on the Dalton, are they? Don't think so. Alright, so let's just say that maybe Livengood to the Yukon is 60 miles. Maybe Yukon to Prospect Creek, 100 miles. Really just spitballing. Maybe 150 to Prospect Creek. Maybe 200 to Coldfoot. So is it like over 200 miles, Fairbanks to Coldfoot? Anchorage to Fairbanks, we're looking at like 6 hours on the normal highway. Then I think it's about another 6 from Fairbanks to Wiseman, if I'm not mistaken. And on the haul road, 6 hours, we're looking at maybe going like 40 miles an hour. 240, 200 miles? How long is the Dalton? I feel like the Dalton's maybe like 400 miles. Is that plausible? With this Mercator projection, it's just so tough. Anchorage, Fairbanks, about 6 hours. I think Fairbanks, Wiseman, about another 6. And then maybe Wiseman into Dead Horse. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like another 6 hours from there. I wish I knew how long exactly it took to drive from Fairbanks to Prudhoe Bay, Dead Horse. You can't drive all the way to Prudhoe Bay. You can only drive to Dead Horse. We're looking so 280 miles, so Anchorage to Fairbanks, that's probably 300. Again, Mercator projections is stretching this out so much. So if we're at mile 281, how far would that put us on the Dalton? Okay, we got to eliminate Live and Good because the Dalton doesn't start until Live and Good. So from here, 281 miles north. It's a long way. Got to be past Wiseman. We got to be out of Anaktuvuk Pass. We got to be out of the pass. How far distant are mountains to the south? I would say way distant. I think we might be looking backwards to the pass. I'm not going to go back because is there any chance that we're like close to Dead Horse at 280 miles from Live and Good? Yeah, I mean, I think there's a decent chance we're close to Dead Horse with this kind of terrain. With this traffic level, I mean, we're seeing other cars, so... And then there's like this little settlement to the west, off of a lake. That, to me, is crazy. Where's the settlement off to the west to the lake? Is that just straight up Dead Horse? Yeah, I mean, is there an airport over there? It's on a lake. It's on a lake. It's a little settlement on a lake. Weird. And then, why am I not seeing the Sag River to the east? Is the Sag River frozen? Okay, I don't... We gotta be somewhere south of Dead Horse. I guess I could be looking around here forever, but it's so weird that there's like a little settlement over there on the lake. On the tundra. We're so tundra here. I gotta say, are we looking at Dead Horse there? Would it be possible? If that were the case, we'd be real close. Sorry if you hear my dog snoring. He's just sleeping. He's doing okay. Yeah, just look at how icy we are. Tundra, straight tundra everywhere. Road is going up and curving around. Is that this? I swear, if we're this close to Dead Horse, I feel like I have to keep going. I'm sorry if, I mean, this is probably the least boring round we could get in Alaska. It's desolate. AJ, this was populated Alaska, but we're clearly on the Dalton Highway, are we not? Toolik Lake, Toolik Lake. Interesting. Where's Toolik Lake, guys? It's Colleen Lake. I don't think that's Toolik Lake. Where's Toolik Lake? I feel like it's the only place we can be. I don't think we're outside of Nome. I feel like there's some Nome coverage as well, but no way. This is just tundra, just straight tundra. So treeless. Toolik Lake, where could you be, Toolik Lake? Alright, we're so desolate, I really don't think we're gonna get much. I mean, I could just keep going on this Dalton Highway forever. Not really understanding why we're not seeing that Sag River, if this is indeed where we are. We gotta be out of the pass. Are we here? Yeah, nice. Okay, I saw that bend in the road, and I knew that, like, we had to be out of Anaktuvuk Pass. I mean, looking backwards, though, crap, like, Pass looks pretty far to the south. Okay, so we went about 2-3 miles north and we got to Tulik. There's Tulik Field Station. Nice, cool. So that's where the Dalton bends. Where can we see any little road going? Okay, we never crossed a bridge. There's Pump Station 4. It looks like we might have been at Pump Station 9. It looks like we might have passed that. There's a road. Galbraith Airport Road. We definitely did not pass that. So we're just about 3 miles, I would say. Oh no. I went northwest, right? I swear I went northwest north. I wouldn't have gone the other way on the Dalton. Okay, so I went northwest north, and we hit that Tulik Field in about 3 miles. Let's line this up. We have kind of a gentle roll to the right. Could we be like there? Yeah, that's very plausible. What part of this is populated Alaska? I'm wondering. Hey, it doesn't matter. I'm excited to be on the Dalton. This is the first time I've been in the middle of nowhere on the Dalton in Alaska. I mean, either IRL or in Geoguessr. Like I say, I've been up in Dead Horse, but so we're nowhere near Dead Horse. So let me try to answer just my geography nerd question. How far is it from Live and Good to Dead Horse? So if we're 281 miles north of Live and Good, and we're right about there, or yeah, maybe a little farther up. Alaska's humongous, right? Yeah, I'm going back down there. I would say maybe like 420 miles. Just wild guess. The Dalton Highway, and that sounds about right. A little bit over 400. So, mountains due north. Check. Coming from the pass, going south, check. Road kind of bending a little bit to the south, check. Let's see where we are. Real close. 1,000 yards away. You will not even imagine how much I will take that. Thor 975 for middle of nowhere on the Dalton. I had to go north. We hit Tulik Lake, and then, God, I eventually found Tulik Lake. What would happen if we would have gone south? Well, we would have been going for a while. We would have eventually hit that bridge, Galbraith Lake Campground, and then we would have been cool. And then we would have been going up in the mountains, though. We would have been going through the pass. That would have taken even longer. I remember there's a little road going off to the right. Was that road even on the map? It doesn't look like it. Again, especially way up here in northern Arctic Alaska. Even Google Maps might not be super accurate. Let's go to round 5. Okay, looks like we are way, way closer to Anchorage. Trooper Hans Roll Memorial Way Station. This is familiar to me. I'm sorry I don't know Trooper Hans Roll, but I know that I've passed your memorial a bunch of times. We are undoubtedly on the road going northeast out of Anchorage through northeast Anchorage suburbs, up through like Eagle River, Chugjiak. I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation of that. But these are considered not just Anchorage suburbs, these are actually still part of the city of Anchorage and Anchorage municipality. So see how they get the all capital letters? These are legitimately still neighborhoods of Anchorage. Mind is blown, many people, when they figure out just how big Anchorage is. Alyeska down here and Girdwood, okay? Girdwood is a neighborhood of Anchorage. I shit you not. pardon my French, but Girdwood's a neighborhood of Anchorage Municipality. And look, it's like 45 minutes southeast. We are more like half an hour northeast of Anchorage on the Glen Highway. You can tell high mountains. See, I told you those were normally covered with snow, right? In those first couple rounds, you might be like, dude, he's just making shit up. But no, I promise you, right? So mountains to the north, northeast. That makes a lot more sense, right? So given that, we may not be all that high up. We may be just north of Eklutna. Eklutna is a place I love to go. It's really an amazing place. If we find it on the map, I think it's past Eagle River. Thunderbird Falls, and then yeah, there's Eklutna Historical Park. That's cool because it is a traditional burial ground of Native Alaskans, and it is uh, a burial site of what they call spirit houses. We're still like, the ground's still kind of tundra up here, so it's difficult to bury bodies anywhere in Alaska, except maybe southeast. So the spirit houses are really, I would really recommend. You go there and you donate a lot of money to the Eklutna people there. It's kind of pay whatever you want. Then Eagle River Loop Road at Highland. So we're not as far north as Eklutna, unfortunately. I was kind of wishing. Down closer to Eagle River. I know there's a McDonald's in Eagle River. Good place to eat breakfast on the way to Eklutna or Hatcher Pass. See, there's Eagle River Loop Road and then Highland Road, right? So there's Highland. Look, we are near the Anchorage Regional Landfill. So let's see if we can find that Memorial Way station. We're right there. Yeah, there's the DOT Glen Outbound Norpass Way station. It looks like we are just about ready to get off onto that way station, so we would be right before the exit to that. So shall we say right about there? Looks like we are on just, it doesn't look like we can find that crossover there. Can we see the frontage road to the east? I don't think so. Be just a little bit before that split off, maybe just a little bit there. 4999, story of my life in Alaska, especially. It's a really big place. But hey, I feel like I got most guesses within yards. Wow, had a really good time on that map, playing that map. 24969. Okay, that is a pretty good score. I don't want to get too excited, but is a 24969 good enough for number one on this map? Let's review and then we'll find out. So number one, look at how many rounds we had down there in the Anchorage region, and then one up in the Matsu, one on the way to the Matsu. So first off, we were, right there in Anchorage on, that is right, on the Strip Mall, Arctic Boulevard, and International Airport Road. Yeah, you see how many cannabis dispensaries are right around that intersection. Cool part of Anchorage, Midtown Anchorage. Then number two, we were just across the city on Post Road on the north side of Anchorage, in between Government Hill and Mountain View. That railroad is what gave it away to me. I knew I'd been on that Post Road before, in Geoguessr at the very least. I feel like I've been there in real life too. Three, that's the one we were up north of Wasilla in the valley. We were on East Coles Road, north of Wasilla, looking ahead towards, I think that Talkeetna range, the Talkeetna mountain range. Four, toughest round ever, middle of the Dalton Highway, somewhere just like southeast of Tulick Field Station. I should have just gone a little bit farther southeast. Yeah, that understandably, I hope, was my farthest guess away. But yeah, I was within yards on all of them. That was only 1,048 yards away. Pretty proud of that, even though it took me almost 20 minutes. was still, it took me a while to figure out, just where in the Matsu we were. And then mercifully, that fifth round, instant recognition, we were headed northeast out of Anchorage on the Glen Highway. One thing we would have seen, that I would have liked to talk about, if we would have been higher, farther northeast on that Glen Highway, we would have seen these like very distinctive like street lights that kind of hang and arch over the entire road. That's a good Alaska meta. Okay, AI populated Alaska. Wow, that was way more than good enough. I mean, obviously took me a while, but a 24969. Good enough for number one on this map. So thank you to AJ011 for AI populated Alaska. Hopefully I'll stay at number one there for a while. And thanks everybody for watching.